Oh, welcome back, guys. John Coffey here once again to get down to the nitty-gritty of this video. You know, you saw the last video of my top 20 films of all time. You saw 20 through 11. Now we're down to the final 10. My top 10 films of all time. What's going to be number one? You may be able to guess, you may not. We're going to find out. So, let's go ahead and get this bad boy rolling because we got 10 movies to talk about here, and I'm sure I'm going to ramble. That's just what I do. Coming at number 10, George Romero's Dawn of the Dead. And it was, this was a tough one to pick because I love George Romero so much. I mean, any of his movies really, any of his classics really could have gotten here. Day, Night, Martin, Creepshow, Crazies. I mean, I love those movies so much that any of them could make here. And when I really got down to it, Dawn of the Dead, you know, what do you say about this movie? I mean, for me, it's so revolutionary, and it really made, you know, it was one of the first horror films I saw where I was like, man, horror can have a message, you know. It doesn't have to just be all about the blood and guts. That doesn't hurt. There's good gore in this movie. That makes everything better. But the fact that there's a gore and a story and a message, you know, like, oh, consumerism, you know, it's just such a good film. Romero, when he was on, he was firing on all cylinders. And it's kind of a shame that over the last couple of years he seems to have slipped a little bit as a filmmaker. But, you know, I still look back on these movies, and this movie in particular, I mean, like, I was so young when I saw this movie, and it really, like, I was like, oh man, you know, he may have been the first director I knew. Like, I was like, I like George Romero. He may have been the first guy I was able to say that about, where I was hunting down all of his work. So, of course, he's got to make my top 10. I mean, the guy changed my childhood. Creepshow was the first horror film I saw and was able to watch, actually. That didn't freak me out so bad I had to run out of the room. So, of course, Dawn of the Dead has got to, you know, one of his movies got to be in the top 10. It could have been Creepshow. I mean, it was really tough for me to pick. But I went with Dawn of the Dead just because it's a movie I've watched so many times, dude. More so than any other movie he's made, probably. This is my Uber Good Side Vision by David Ingey and Scott Reiniger. Yep. Can't even say it all you bet, but, you know, I got to meet those guys, which was awesome. Having a signed edition of one of my favorite movies is awesome. Next up, number 9. A film that hopefully within the next year will be tattooed over my chest. Hopefully. I'm looking to get my first tattoo coming up soon. Graduating from college, I want to get myself a gift, so I want to get some tattoos. And one of them I want right here, right where my heart would be if it's actually right here, but I want it over here, you know, where pledge allegiance to the horror, pledge allegiance, you know, kind of thing, you know. I'm rambling now, but, you know, over my heart, I want this movie, and that is Frankenstein. What do you say about Frankenstein? You know, me and Matt reviewed this film, and we've tried to review it a couple times. But every time we review it, we always end up talking about Jack Pierce's makeup. But, Boris Karloff, Black and White, the movie that made me appreciate black and white movies, really, honestly, gosh, on the truth. I was like, for a long time, I was one of those people like, I don't like old horror movies. I like post-60s. That's what I like, 70s on. This movie I watched one night, I was like, my God, what a beautifully made, awesome movie. And almost a movie that could be not considered a horror film. I mean, other than the fact that there's a monster in it, it's really a tragedy. You know, this creature is made, and he's not bad, he's not evil, and he's just misunderstood. I mean, these people fear him, they're afraid of him. He does things he doesn't understand that is bad. And you know, Dr. Frankenstein has to destroy this creature, even though he knows he ain't bad. He just has to be stopped. I mean, like, he doesn't understand, and that's the beauty of this film. It really is a drama, a tragedy that is disguised as a horror film, you know, and it's so amazing, you know. Like I said, right here is where Frankenstein's head's going to be, right on my heart. Frankenstein. I don't think I've even done the numbers now. This is number 9, Frankenstein. Truly, truly a classic. I mean, another film that could easily have gone way higher. It could have been my top 3 easily. This was a tough list to make. Took me a long time. And I'm sure if I made it again, this list would be completely different. Yeah, Frankenstein's number 9. I mean, I could talk about this movie all day. It's one of my favorite films of all time, of course. I keep saying that, but of course it is. It's my top 20. Frankenstein. Number 8. And of course, Takashi Miike had to be on this list. And of course, he had to be very high because he is my favorite filmmaker of all time. I think the man's body of work is better than any other director ever. The man has... I have not seen a Takashi Miike movie I've hated. I've either loved them, liked them, or thought they were okay. I've never gone over to hate. And the movie I decided to pick on this list, and this was another tough one because I love Miike so much. I really mulled it over what Miike film they want on here. And I picked this one because I feel this is his most complete work, and it's Ichi the Killer. I reviewed this not too long ago, so I'm not going to get too in-depth with it. But man, from the soundtrack, to the cinematography, to the acting, to the story, to everything. I mean, just so great. One of the most entertaining movies I've ever seen. I mean, Miike firing on all cylinders right here. This is Miike at maybe his finest. I think actually his best made movie is Audition. But for me, when I think about my favorite Takashi Miike film, I think Ichi the Killer. And it's just so entertaining. Alert things, hate those things. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those movies that are equal parts disturbing and equal parts fun, because there's a lot of messed up stuff in this movie. But at the same time, it's just so entertaining. And I don't really know how to pronounce his name, but I think it's Tsuboto Asano, the man who plays the lead character here, one of your lead characters here, the main villain. I've become a huge fan of his work, and I'm constantly... like weird, it's kind of creeping me out almost. Got me all distracted now. Jesus. It's kind of scary almost sounding people. Sounds like a voice. Anyways. His work, I began to seek out his work because of this movie. I mean, I think he's such a good actor, and he's actually in Thor. He's come a long way. I mean, he's in mainstream Hollywood films now. Good for him. Such a great actor. Great movie. One of the best. I said it again. I'm going to stop saying it right now, people. You're not going to hear me say one of the best movies ever because, of course, you know that. Ichi the Killer. Love it. Number 8. Number 7. And, it's a Western. One of the best Westerns ever. Not my favorite Western, though. You're going to find out what my favorite Western is. But, oh my god. When you think about grand scale films, this has to be one of the first ones that pop in your head. Good, Bad, and the Ugly. The end of the Man with No Name trilogy. Clint Eastwood. Lee Von Cleef. Directed by, why can I think of this guy's name? Sergio Leone, of course. The master of Westerns. Just a vast universe that feels like the real world that you live in. Doesn't feel like a movie at all. It feels like you're watching this really happen because Sergio Leone cast these characters perfectly. You know, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Tuco, Angel Eyes, Blondie. It's a movie that was probably like... I'm trying to think what the first Western I saw where I was like, I like this. It was either this or Django. But I like this way better than Django, so that's why it's on the list instead of Django. Leone, I mean, one of the greatest directors to ever walk the face of this planet. You know, he's one of those guys that's got to be in the top 10 directors of all time. And this is, you know, one of the best Westerns ever made. I mean, like, there's so many good Westerns out there, but this is, when I think of great Westerns, this is way up there, you know. Classic movie, so many great scenes, too, you know. We reviewed this one, so I'm trying to think of things I meant to say in the review. That's why I'm kind of pausing, like, ooh, plus it's real late at night. It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm an old man, so I go to bed early. Good, Bad, and the Ugly. Amazing movie. That was number 7. Coming in at number 6. The beginning of my love of Quentin Tarantino. And again, it was tough. I was like, what Tarantino filmed up on here? He's one of those guys that really inspired me. And I went with this one. I went with Reservoir Dogs because it's the epitome of cool. I think the main characters here, you know, you got Harvey Keitel, Michael Madsen, Tim Roth, Steve Buscemi. I mean, come on. Harvey Keitel, that's all you need to know. It's actually signed by Michael Madsen, who was, you know, he was okay dude. Yeah, just phenomenal film. I'm trying to think of what to say about it. I mean, like, a lot of these movies I'm getting to this point now where they've been talked about so many times I can't think of anything that you don't already know about this movie, you know. Really all you need to know is Harvey Keitel, one of the greats great actors of all time. I mean, man. And it's just, it was one of those films that I saw so early on. Like, I wasn't even in high school when I watched this movie for the first time. I was probably 7th, 8th grade. And I watched it, and it was just like, wow. This is what movies need to be like. You know, all movies need to be like Reservoir Dogs. And like Tarantino for the last couple of years has been starting to get backlash from people, man. It just blows my mind. Like, oh, he's a rip-off artist. None of his stuff is original. I'm like, yeah, but whose is, you know? I heard Kevin Smith one time say that, like, all stories have already been told. We're just trying to reshape them in a way that seems... And that's basically the truth, you know? Why people were, like, poking at him like, oh, he's a rip-off artist. If he's ripping stuff off, he's still making entertaining films. That's all that matters, you know? So Quentin Tarantino, I salute you, sir. I will be sad the day you retire. He's talking about hanging it up at 10 films. And when the day he retires, I'll be sad because he'll be losing a great, in my opinion. So, Reservoir Dogs, I think it's the epitome of cool films right here. Love it. Start a new pile. So stuff on the flying. Next up is my favorite Western of all time. It's number 5. It's also Sergio Leone. So you may be able to guess what it is. I don't even know, man. It's getting to the point where it's getting really hard to talk about these movies because I love them so much that I'm almost speechless talking about it. Once Upon a Time in the West. Bought this for $5. Wanted to see what it was like. Wasn't sure how much I was going to like it because at that time the only real Western I saw was Good, Bad, and the Ugly. And it just floored me. Long movie. My dad hates it. 165 minutes. From the beginning to end, it had me. Just had me at full attention, dude. Henry Fonda, Charles Bronson, the soundtrack, which, you know, the great Ennio Morricone does, the acting, the story, the build-up, everything about this movie is just perfect. The first scene that's so long at the train station just goes on and on and on. It's beautiful. So well shot. And yeah, it's one. I said my dad hates it. My dad loves westerns. He doesn't like this movie because it's long and doesn't have a lot of action in it. But for me, it is awesome. And the fact that Bronson has this harmonica theme, you know, that plays every time he shows up, it's so awesome because it's one of those things like when you hear it, you get so excited, you get pumped, like yeah, it's about to go down. It's Bronson's best film, bar none. As much as I love Death Wish and Dirty Dozen and stuff like that, this is easily Bronson's best movie. In my opinion, the best Western ever made. I need to watch this movie again. It's been too long. Once Upon a Time in the West comes in at number 5. Oh, excuse me. Number 4 is a movie that could definitely surprise some people. I really think that people are going to be like, why is that movie so high on your list? And I'll explain it. Number 4 is Kevin Smith's Clerks. And I'm sure right now some people are like, what? Why Kevin Smith's Clerks? Why Clerks? That movie ain't that good. It was the first movie I saw where I said Big Lebowski is my favorite comedy of all time. There's nothing funnier. This movie isn't funnier than Big Lebowski. It just isn't. But it's more important to me. It was the first movie I saw where I was like, you can make good movies and they don't have to be like Star Wars. They don't have to be big, grandiose films. You can make good films and they be small. And it inspired me so much. At that moment, I knew I wanted to direct movies, and you know, to this day, I still want to direct movies. My dream is to at least do one film in my life, or not film, but movie. It doesn't have to be shot on film. Just direct one movie in my life. You know, that's all I want, and that's because of this film right here. If it wasn't for Clerks, I would never have had that drive to want to make movies. And I owe Kevin Smith my whole ambition, you know, and my whole dream. It's all because of him. You know, like he saw Richard Linklater's Slacker and became inspired by him to want to make movies. Like, it's like, I can do it. Same way I feel about this movie. This movie made me think, I can do this. You can make good movies and they don't have to look like $1 million budget movies. You can make these small movies and they still be good, you know? And it's a movie I watch a lot. still inspires me. Still as good as I like it. I like it as much now as I did when I first saw it. I saw it so young, and it really, really, really inspired me, and still inspires me. I think if you're an indie filmmaker, you have to, tip your hat to Kevin Smith. I think you really led the way with Clerks. I mean, he was one of the first guys to get a movie this small and get it distributed. And look how well he's doing for himself now. His last movie, Red State, was amazing. So, Kevin Smith, Clerks, huge inspiration to me. Next up, number 3, and the last 3 films are easily, juxtaposition. I could easily move one up, move one down, but I had to lock something in. So coming at number 3 is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Why? Because it's awesome. That's why. My favorite horror film of all time. Relentless, it's creepy, scary, disturbing, everything you want in a horror film. Just unapologetic about its horror. A movie that as a child just completely scared me. Like, I remember sitting in my kitchen watching it in the living room because I didn't want to be close to the television, because that's how much this movie scared me. And to this day, it still unsettles me to a point like not many movies can, where I'm just like, man, I cannot believe. And the fact that they, you watch a documentary on it, how much Hooper and them went through to make this movie. Yeah, man, I mean, it wasn't a fun movie to make, and they pulled out and they made something this amazing. So Texas Chainsaw Massacre, greatest horror film of all time in my opinion. So that's number 3. We're down to the last 2. And these are, easily 2 films that are not only on my top 20 films of all time list, but have to be at least somewhere in everyone's top 20 films of all time list, in my humble opinion. That's kind of a bold statement, but I think that these are 2 of the greatest films ever, not just according to me, but according to people, And number 2, and man, it was so hard to pick between these 2 movies, which one was going to be number 1, which was going to be number 2. This is easily going to be my favorite movie of all time, but I decided I'm going to leave it at number 2. And it's by the amazing Akira Kurosawa, and you already know what it is. It's Seven Samurai. Man. Epic beyond anything else. Such a motivational story. These poor farmers hire these 7 samurai. They can't even pay them. But just out of the warrior spirit, these 7 samurais take the job, knowing good and well that it's a feat that may not be able to be done with just 7 samurais, and take on this battle. I mean, that story, how do you not just be like, yes, that is beautiful, It's such a well shot movie, and it's such a well done story. It's long. It's 207 minutes. I mean, wow, so long, but from beginning to end, it draws you in and commands you to pay attention. I don't know what to say about this movie. This is the Criterion Blu-ray. I paid a lot for this release, but I had to, There's no way I could not own this movie on Blu-ray, even if it's black and white. But it does look good. Like, I have to say, they did a great job. Oh, you can hear the passion in my voice when I'm speaking about this film, There's actually an anime called Samurai 7 that's based on this film that actually the family of Akira Kurosawa allowed to be made, and it's good too. It's just one of those stories that in any medium you tell, it's going to be good, and the fact that Akira Kurosawa had his hand on it, you have a guy that good of a filmmaker, and you have a story that good, you're going to get quality beyond, beyond quality. You're going to get amazing. You're going to get, I don't know what word I can say to describe this movie. Amazing, fabulous, crazy good. It's just, oh my god, I could talk about this movie all day. It's sincerely one of my favorite movies ever. Top 20. It could be easily number 1, easily. I could easily put this number 1. It's just such a moving movie, and it's not action-packed. It has good action scenes in it, and it would inspire so many things. I mean, Magnificent 7 is based on 7 Samurai. Like I said, Samurai 7, the anime, 13 Assassins by Takashi Miike. I mean, this movie would go on to inspire so many people, you know, including myself. And thank God a company like Criterion got their hands on it, was able to remaster it. I gotta stop talking about it because this video is already 20 minutes and I gotta go to number 1. But yeah, Seven Samurai. This is my favorite DVD, Blu-ray, anything I own. Like, of all my collection, this is my favorite item I own. And number 1. And I need to upgrade the Blu-ray of this one. I've had this edition for so long now. It was a movie that I always had heard about and I always wanted to see. And when I saw it, I automatically knew that this was my favorite movie. And a lot of things have come along and try to contend it. Like I said, Seven Samurai could easily come up and take its spot, but it doesn't. Because this is a movie that epitomizes what I like about movies. And that is Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver. It's dark, it's gritty, it's emotional. It gives you characters you care for. It tells a story that is just timeless, in my opinion. You know, a man who's reached his breaking point. I mean, that's a story that could be told 100 different ways, but, you know, Scorsese, the way he did it, and then to have such talented actors behind it, like Robert De Niro, you know, who yeah, he makes some bad stuff now, but at one time could have been easily the greatest actor of all time, you know, and you got some contenders in there. You got James Dean, Marlon Brando, you know, and another one of the greats, Harvey Keitel, is in this movie, and Jodie Foster, and Joe Spinell, and, you know, that gritty New York look to it, and so many memorable scenes. You know, everybody's like, oh, you know, you talking to me? Yeah, that's an interesting scene, but what makes that scene so good is this Nero amping himself up, getting ready to do what he thinks is, you know, right and proper, even though, you know, is he? Who knows? In his mind, he is. And you know, the scene with Scorsese in the back of the car when he's talking about his wife cheating on him. I mean, there's just scene after scene of amazing, you know, combination of dialogue and visuals, and, you know, a film that has true attitude, you know. This is another movie I actually used in my art class. I had to take a item and abstract it, like something that was personal to me, and I picked the Taxi Driver DVD and abstracted it in my art class because, you know, like I said, it's my favorite filmmaker of all time. I mean, I love 70s cinema, and I love 70s gritty cinema especially, and this is the pinnacle of that, you know. This is that, everything that I love about, like, you know, you take like a grindhouse film, everything I love about grindhouse film, but made into a film that is amazing. You know, this is not just some gritty grindhouse film that, like, oh, if you're into grindhouse movies, you like it. This is a movie that if you love movies, you're gonna like it, you know. But it easily could at times been a grindhouse film because it's got that attitude, it's got that vibe, it's got that aggression to it. But because a guy like Martin Scorsese, it's late, people. Martin Scorsese had his hands on it. He was able to take what could easily been just another grindhouse film and transform it into a piece of art that, you know, everyone needs to see. So Taxi Driver, amazing movie, my favorite film of all time. And that is it. My top 20 films of all time. I hope you all enjoyed it. I'd like to see you guys try this. I'd like to see some of you all create a video response and tell me some of your favorite 20 films of all time, if you can. You know, it's a challenge, let me tell you folks. It's not easy. If you can actually see my piece of paper I was going by, I have 20 films written out, and then I marked them off. And to come up with these 20 films was not easy. And like I said, this is a list of films that could easily change tomorrow. I could see something tomorrow that, like, that's it, it's going top 20. A movie like Blue Velvet, I had never seen till this year, and now it's in my top 20 films of all time. That's why I love film so much. You're always going to find something new that you know, really hits you, like, in a way. Like, you watch movie, like I watch movie after movie, and you're like, oh, these are good, I like these movies, these are some of my favorite movies, this is a movie I enjoy. But then occasionally you get that one movie that you watch, and it's like, this is not only a movie I enjoy and a movie I like, this is a movie that has changed my views on film, you know, or not even just film, but my views on life, my views on me, you know. That's the beauty of film, and it's something I can talk about so passionately because it's something I love, and someday I wish to be able to create myself, you know. But enough rambling. It's 25 minutes. I don't want to make this video 30 minutes, make y'all listen to me ramble for 30 minutes about, you know, stuff. But hopefully you all enjoyed this, and like I said, hopefully you all will give it a go and tell me some of your favorite movies of all time. And I'm back. I'm going to try to stay back, and I want to truly appreciate to all the people who have stuck around. I'm sure I lost a lot of viewers by being inactive, but I'm back to stay, hopefully, and thank you all so much, and I'll see you all next time.